So in this mindfulness breathing or Anapanasati, we have been discussing, and if I remember correctly, we have discussed about 3 weeks on the aniccanupassi, and the 13th aspect of a mindfulness of a breathing. So that's aniccanupassi asasisami sikati, aniccanupassi pasasisami sikati. The first of the 4th tretra, or the 13th of the 16 aspects of a breathing mindfulness. So this aniccanupassi, we have to remember and understand it clearly. Previously, I mentioned that in order to understand the impermanence of this, we start off from contemplating the breathing, all the other practices that we have discussed from the number 1 to the 12. Starting from a breathing in long, breathing out short, and breathing in and out, experiencing the body and calming the body, and then different types of the feelings and different types of the mind, along with the breath. And that's when we are doing that, then we contemplate that these are actually impermanent. So incoming one thing, outgoing one thing, and as it comes and as it goes out, and it has a coming and going, it has a arising, remaining, and a vanishing stage of that. Okay? And then the second, the reason we can't see this impermanence is because the continuation or continuity of things, it's called a santati, that's continue arising and happening so fast. And because of that santati, the continuity, it blocks to see this impermanence, one after another. Even like the breathing in and out, we do not see it as impermanence, because the continuation of that happens so quickly. It arises, remains, and vanish, arises, remains, and vanish. Like that. So it happens so quickly. As a result, we won't see it. And that's also with the practice, we've got to understand that. And the reason of this santati, which is the natural fact, and this is how nature works, and that will be the way it is. So that's why it is also the teachings. And in that, we have to understand further that it's not just the realizing the anicca. Along with the anicca, or the impermanence, we have to understand that because of this impermanence, or because of this impermanence or not remaining the same, it generates the suffering, dukkha. Okay? If we have seen all the suffering that we are experiencing is because of the change, and then we really understood the impermanence. Is there anything that is unchanged? Nara? Is there anything that's unchanged? And because of the changing, we suffer. Why do you think we become hungry? Hungry is suffering, isn't it? If you do not get the food on time, what happens? Screaming. Hungry. So that is like that. And then same time, when we eat, we feel we are full and we are happy, but eventually in a couple of hours, or sometimes immediately, for me half an hour, got pain for the toilet. So we have to go to the toilet. So going to the toilet also suffering, and that's also change takes place. Okay, and then with that understanding, this change, then what we understand further that, I think this I explained it last, our previous one, last one, that there is no self. We cannot take it as a permanent entity to anything. A permanent entity. Nothing is permanent. So even our self, so-called anatta. So everything is anatta. Nothing to grasp on, nothing to hold on to. So these are the simply anatta. So these three factors, also known as the three natural characteristics that is there and will be there. And I think, if I remember correctly, I quoted the sutta called Dhammaniyama Sutta. So-called Uppadawa Pikave Tathagatanang Anupadava Pikave Titavasatha Dhamma Titata Dhammaniyamata Sappe Sankhara Anicca Sappe Sankhara Dukkha Sappe Dhamma Anattati. So that is one. Okay, so that means whether the Buddha arise or not, these were there. Right? So these teachings were there, and then still there. Buddha simply unveiled it. So that teaching is this three characteristics, and this is the Dhamma Titata. So this is how it is, the natural law. And Dhamma Niyamata, this is how it works. This is how it goes. And then that's what is. This is happening because of the cause and effects. So that's called idhapachayata. It arises and then it vanishes. So there is a cause and effects always taking place. Because of the cause and effects, everything is impermanence. And because of this impermanence, this creates the suffering. And the same thing, the effect, the cause becomes effect, effect becomes the cause. So it's like a hunger, hungry is the cause to eat, right? And that eating actually the cause to vanish the hunger, right? Okay, and then this hunger, when it goes away, that becomes the cause, right? That becomes the cause to defecate, like that. So it's a idhapachayata, means the dependent origination, one after another. It's interdependent in everything. Okay? So this three takes place. So that's the teachings that the Buddha explained, that whether the Buddha arises or not. So these teachings are always there. When this is always there, but this is not to be believed as the permanent entity, in a way that's empty. That's called a sunyata. It's an emptiness. Nothing to believe on or nothing to hold on to it. It's a sunyata. And when we understand that this sunyata or emptiness, what we can do? This is, that's it is. Yeah? So as it is, that is. So that's called a tathata. And then after this tathata comes atamayata. See, the temple that I went, atamayata. How many ta is here? All I have mentioned. How many tas? Were you counting? So number one, anicca. Number two, dukkha, suffering. Number three, anatta, non-self, right? And then dhammatitata. This is how it is, the nature. Dhamma niyamata. This is how it works. And then idhapachayata. Because of the cause and effects, it is taking place like this. And sunyata. So nothing can be there. Everything is just empty. And this is how it is. Tathata. And then the last one is atamayata. Oh, I had it enough now. So that means you have seen Everything now. Is it 10 or is it 9?
9. I counted 9.
Says it counted 10. Which one is the 10th?
The last one you said.
Last one is the 9th.
No.
Yeah. So, when we are practicing the Dhammanupassana, so here we have to see this entire Dhamma itself, even the Dhamma, the objects. So, this called Dhamma objects, which I mentioned that in Satipatthana, Dhammanupassana, that we already comprehended in the Chittanupassana, in the Anapanasati. Now here, even the Dhammanupassana we see, Dhammanupassana in Satipatthana, we see it as impermanence in this form. Okay? So that's how then we fully comprehend on the teachings, so-called anicca.
Is that where you experience shunyata?
Yeah.
That stage.
Okay, so and then once you have experienced the sunyata, then you realize that everything is like that. Then why we worry? So that's called a tatata, thus, or as it is. So this, everything you have seen, that everything is anicca, and then everything is interdependent, arises. Nothing should I hold on to it. Then everything is empty. So why should I worry about? Why should I grasp onto it? Yeah. So that's the stage. When you have understood this stage, then you realize, oh, just let it be as it is. So it's called a tatata. And then after that, then there will be no attachment to anything. You will not have any sort of grasping, any sort of wanting and desires on that. So with this here, number one, we eradicate the ignorance. Number two, we don't have a craving. Okay. Number three, we have no karma. We are not creating any karma further on. And then so-called nutrition. So we are not adding to any so-called ahara or feeding. We are not feeding to any experiences in it now anymore. Right? But because of ignorance, we take things as permanent, or we take things as permanent. As a result of that, what we are doing is we crave something on it. Right? We crave to things, and then when we crave, we act something. When we act, basically it's like a fuel, putting the fuel in a fire. So that's called a nutrition. And with that, we are further on creating in the samsara. And the creation here, according to the commentaries, it refers to the 5 aggregates. So that's the last bit I wanted to say about the 5 aggregates. And from that creation of the 5 aggregate, whereas the practice helps us to understand not only the breathings, not only this breath that we are talking about, the whole sequences from 1 to 12, it also comes to the coming into the this mind and the body, right? So called a nama and a rupa, coming to the mind and a body, and understanding this body and a mind as impermanence, right? As impermanent. Now, when we contemplate on each components of this mind body, like a physical rupa is impermanent, vedana is impermanent, sanya is impermanent, sankhara is impermanent, vijnana is impermanent, and not that enough. Okay? If you're taking the Dhammanupassana in that sense, then further on we have to contemplate on the 6 senses. 6 sense base, external and internal 6 senses. So we have to contemplate on that as well. And not only that, the 22 dhatus, the elements, that also we have to contemplate on it too. So when we are contemplating in this way, then entire this body internally and externally and outside world also becomes or fall into this concept called impermanence. Right? When we experience that in terms of this entire internal and external fall into this impermanence, and then obviously mind becomes to the stage that I had it enough. So you have fully understood, and then there will be no passion, or there will be no attachment on it. Simplifying it into a normal day, as the examples that we discussed. You're going to the work and you feel that you had it enough, and so you give it up. Same with when you are instructing to someone, or when you are telling to somebody, and then after telling a couple of times and they do not listen or they not change, then I had it enough. So okay, up to you. It's like a concept of the upekha that arises. So, but the upekha and the let it be here are quite different. Upekha in Brahma Vihara is more of like a prajna. After you have fully understood, and let them take the responsibility of their own karma later on. But here it's like a more of a it's up to you, like that. So able to let it be, and that gradually coming into our own self, the mind body, understanding that this body is also the impermanent cause and effects. So when it's become a cause and effects, then we should not be attached to it. And the same come to the mind, which is again divided into mind, body. The mental factors and mind, and that also like Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara are also impermanent, and Vijnana also impermanent. Like that, after you have seen the whole picture, the whole scenario of that, then that develops this, oh, it's okay. I have understood now. I don't want to be with it. So it's like letting it be. It's called a viraga, and then next will develop the viraga. There was when I was talking about that, and there was one thing come into my mind. Now it's gone. Sanya is impermanent. See, memory is impermanent.
Blank now. He teaches us, but he's blank by his mind.
So that's why the impermanence on this topic, Dhammanupasana, is not a simple one. It's very deep and very profound teaching that has to understand in various ways. But the good thing I got it from this was, and I have been talking about it all the time, that we don't need to worry about the anatta. If somebody asks you about anatta, don't worry about it. Explain anicca. When you explain anicca properly, the anatta is a result.
Ajahn, I tell anatta, I don't want to have my grey hair, darling. I want to have black like you, but they are anatta. I'm not stopping.
That's a good example. Let it be.
Let it be. I think I had enough with my son.
Talking about the son, there is a girl who is probably about 22 or 23. And she was taking drugs, and she was escaping from her college. And with that, her family tried their hard and their best to put her in the right track in various ways. And despite of that, for so many times, so many years now, she never changed. Yeah, she didn't stop taking the drugs, and obviously she stopped going to the college, and she never stopped seeing those friends who take drugs. So eventually, the family said, "We had it enough with you. So wherever you want to go, go." So she is thrown out of the house. Putting the explanation, she said, it's like putting the hard stone on her heart and let her go. So, and I asked her later on, after a couple of weeks later, she didn't have any contact.
Mom.
So that's called I had it enough. Remember, okay? Behave yourself too. Before we say, we had it you enough. Go away.
Yes, good kids. Because they've been coming to the temple for a long time. So,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that's the story. Yeah.
Not for them. They're the good kids.
Yeah, they are. They are very good. Yeah.
So good. So behave.
So like that. Okay. So this is called Atamayata, or aniccanupassi. Yeah? So that's why the aniccanupassi, to see the anicca is so profound. And actually, the moment when you see the anicca, clearly you are on the vipassana, the clear vipassana now. So you're seeing, it's called a vipassana jnana, right? So you are seeing it completely on that. And another word also used, dhamma titiyana. Dhamma titiyana here means the knowledge to understand that this is how nature works. Knowledge to understand that, knowledge that understands how the nature works. So that's called dhamma titiyana. Titi.
Does it has to be like aniccan, like aniccan first and then anatta, and is that there's a way like you have to understand, or just can you like is more anatta can be prominent for somebody and for someone else it can be aniccan?
From my understanding, in order to have the anatta, you have to have a good understanding of anicca.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, you don't understand the anatta. So, and then when you're contemplating anatta, in order to understand clearly the anatta, obviously you have to understand the anicca. So that's why I always take the anatta as a result of understanding the anicca.
Okay.
Whereas the rest of others, you can just play around whichever way you want to put it in. Whereas that's how it. But the last one will be obviously the last one, atamayata. But between other things, like let's say dhammatitata, you can begin with the dhammatitata. What is the dhammatitata? The dhammatitata, this is how nature works, how the nature works. So anicca. This is anatta. Like that. Or dhammaniyama. Dhammaniyamata. Niyama means nature, how the nature goes or works with that. Then again, that goes into the nature works. Everything is impermanent, changing all the time. So that's why it comes to the anicca. That's why in this practice, particularly, once you have understood the anicca, the rest becomes more clear. Tathata, obviously, this is impermanent, so that's called tathata. Like that. Okay. So, hope you understand the anicca, and that's not as I said, not just seeing the breath as anatta, anicca, and then not just our feeling is anatta, not just our mind is anicca. Okay, not just the breath is anicca, not just the feeling is anicca, not just the mind is anicca, but also our body, our six senses, and then again after contemplating on this mind body is are anicca, we're externally looking at the other things, that's also anicca. And this whole internal external, that are anicca. So having understood that, then there will be arising inside your heart to say atamayata.
Is that 18 anupassati?
Huh?
Is that 18 kind of anupassati you do? 18 anupassati you do? No, not that one. No.
Actually, there are 50 different types of contemplating on that. That comes in the Patisambhida. Patisambhida Magga explains 50 different ways to understand this, but it's too long. Right? And also, when you are contemplating even just the one single anicca, there comes, if I remember correctly, 14 different ways. Starting from ardent, so basically you are ardently present there to watch it, and then as you are watching ardently there, then gradually develops further on up to the 14 stage there. So there are 50 types, and then there are 14 stages, so different ways that explains in the Patisambhida Magga. So we don't need to go that deep. I think I have already given quite a different, deeply on that different aspects of it already. Right? I think that's enough. Okay, so with this, let's practice loving kindness. Unless you have anything to ask, anybody?